Good evening or morning, depending on when you're watching this video. This is Create, Share, Learn, and I am Erin Rathke. Now, if you're joining us live, welcome, welcome. I will be doing my best to monitor the chat, but as you may be aware, I do fly solo during the show. So if you do want to add any comments to the chat, if you don't get a response during the show, I will try to monitor it as best I can. Otherwise, keep an eye on the comments after we go live and I will do my best to respond. Also, please try to keep your comments kind and respectful. So before we get into the show tonight, which covers how to use Adobe Premiere Rush and video layering to create more engaging and effective content, I would like to do an acknowledgement of country. I respect and honour Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders past, present and emerging. I acknowledge the stories, traditions and living cultures of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples on this land and the lands in Australia that I reach, and commit to building a brighter future together. So, in the last episode of Create, Share, Learn, we covered how you can use the Adobe Spark Post app on Apple devices only at the moment, unfortunately, to use a layout to move some images around so that you can pop a video into one of those little frames. But if you feel really nifty, you can try to use a picture of a device and try to manipulate it and move it around so that it looks like the video is sitting inside the image of a smartphone, tablet, TV, whatever it is that tickles your fancy. However, doing that can be a little bit fiddly and frustrating and can take a little bit of time. So I did actually get asked the question after the broadcast last fortnight that, is there a way that you can just put a picture down and then just plonk a video on top of it? There absolutely is. Not available in Adobe Spark Post, but you can do it using the Adobe Premiere Rush software. So I'll just quickly share my screen so that you've got a little bit more information in case this is something that you are interested in using, or something that maybe if you work in a school and you're looking for activities that children or your students, we have adult students too, that can do in the classroom, either on a organization controlled device. Then I'm going to give you this little bit of information first. This isn't a paid ad. It's promotion because I find it's a really good product, and especially if you're on a fairly standard issue computer that doesn't have special memory or an amazing video card, Premiere Rush can be a really good product to create really effective short videos. If you're looking at doing any bigger productions video wise, then you might need something with a bit more grunt device wise. Whole feature length movies have been edited together in Adobe Premiere Pro, which is what Rush is based on and is basically a cut down version of. So I'll just quickly share my screen. So you can see here the Adobe website. And I will just see if I can pop this banner up with that URL. So as you can see here, they've got some license features and some options that are listed here. And if you do have your own private device and you are interested in trying Rush for yourself and following along with this video, you can always watch back the recording if you want me to keep you company while you experiment. Otherwise, you can just click the Start for Free button there, and that will trigger the download of the software for you to install on your machine and try. Adobe Premiere Rush can be installed on PCs as well as Mac devices. So it's very non-denominational and agnostic as far as devices go, whereas some features in the Spark suite, say for instance, are only available on Apple devices. So Before you start creating a video, you generally need to have a bit of an idea of what it is that you want to create and why. So although the example I'm using is taking a still image and then manipulating a video to make that video appear like it's coming out of that still image device, you can take this and use it for anything you like. If there is a project where you want your class to come up with a video about environmental sustainability, they can use the principles that are in this video and what I show you today to create a resource that adds a lot more visual interest if you're trying to explain something or make something more visually stimulating. Basic words, basic imagery, when it does something that's a little bit unexpected or that draws the eye, makes even the longest video a lot more interesting for people to look at. So my concept, carrying on from the last live stream, is that you're going to take an image, and it can be an image that you create yourself on a device with a camera of your choice, and you can use that picture as your background and then put a video over the top of it in Premiere Rush, but you need to have the picture first. So I'm going to show you a website that I tend to make a lot of use out of, because there is a stunning library of photos from a huge range of contributors across the world. They are called Pixabay. Now, Pixabay does have a lot of content up, and they do have content that is linked and is only available if you purchase it. They have to keep the lights on somehow, obviously, but you can search and it does display which images are only available through purchase and which images are from their contributor community. And I always think it's a good idea, if you're going to use somebody else's images, that you keep an eye on what you're using, download what you need, but then actually copy the details of the person that created this piece of creative art that you're using. And then if you're creating a video, especially if you're going to be publishing it somewhere or showing it to someone, make sure you credit those creators that helped you enhance your project and make it more vivid and visually interesting. So Pixabay is a great service, and it's sort of a one-stop shop for a lot of things. You can see on this drop-down just here, you can search for photos, vector graphics, illustrations, as well as videos. Just make that screen a little bit bigger for you. So say, for instance, if we wanted to search for photos of televisions, it will go through, query its library, and it will show you at the very, very top of the screen some options that are offered by their sponsors, which often have like some really great options. But if you're on a tight budget or you're working with students and there simply isn't the availability or the practicality to get that spending up there, just scroll down through the page and look at all of these amazing options. Some of them are a little bit off topic. You can see there that I've got some stuff blocked because of an adult content setting that I have got there. But what I might just do is pick something really basic. Here's the one that I used in my promo image, and you can see there, I can see who the creator is. And to find that, all I did was search for an iPad in amongst the photos, and there's my picture right there. Now, some things that you need to keep in mind if you are looking to have a still image with a video overlaid over the top of it is that in Adobe Premiere Rush, you can, there are some tricks to make the video fit within the borders of your image. But another thing that you need to keep in mind is that even if the image is skewed just by perspective, even just a little bit, your image won't quite sit cleanly within the borders of that picture. And yeah, you can try to do some, play around with it in other software and try to force the perspective to make it fit. But we're looking for a nice, simple, clean, square layout. So we want to avoid anything that has thumbs sitting on the edge. We want to avoid anything that isn't actually a nice, even shape. So I've got a couple of options from some examples I filmed of myself earlier. I did some in landscape and I did some in portrait. But that one might be another good example. There's a little bit of forced perspective there, so it might not be quite perfect, but I reckon it is probably good enough. So in order to get this onto my device, I would select the free download button and I would click download. Now, usually I'm signed in here. It must have kicked me out, but that's okay. Going to download it anyway. And you can see here, I've got the details of the creator that contributed this content. So what I'm going to do is, just as a quick little cheat, I'm going to use the sticky notes on my computer, available in the start menu of PCs by clicking on the little Windows icon and typing in sticky notes. And I've grabbed who created it. I'm also going to grab the URL or web address so that I can include that in the credits of this video and say this is what I used to create this content. And I'm going to pop that over to the side so I don't lose it behind my windows. Now that that's sitting on my computer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that image from my downloads folder. So I'll just pop that over here. And I am going to pop that window there, which is my overlay demos video that I've created in my Creative Cloud files. And I'm going to click and drag that image over there so it is nice and organized in my little library. So now that I've done that, pull that back across to my little desktop. And I am going to open up Adobe Premiere Rush. Oh, it did. It started on my other desktop. Let's give it a second to load. Once the software started, I'll pull it across. So there it is. There is Adobe Premiere Rush. And so you can see I've got a few bibs and bobs that I've been working on. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to create a new project. So to create that new project, I simply select the Create a New Project button. I better name my project something because I can get a little bit carried away with my creative process and I can make some variants. So I'm going to name this using a date stamp like that. And I'm going to call it CSL example demo. So that's going to be the project name. And the next thing I have to do is actually add some stuff in here from my Creative Cloud files where I keep all of my bits and pieces. So as you can see here, I have my overlay demos folder that has what I have grabbed, including a video. It also has my post that I popped on social media from earlier. It also has the iPad that I used earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that tablet image and I'm going to grab that video and we're going to see if we can make them play nice together. So it matters if you've got lots and lots of different bibs and bobs that you're going to be adding into this, which order you do it in. But we'll do it with the picture first and then the video second. So I'm just going to go to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, if you can just make it out there. And I'm going to select the Create button. So right now in the background, Rush is organizing the two very small files that I've added, so it should work fairly quickly. So now you can see I have at the bottom of my screen a timeline. Now in this timeline, you can see a preview of the picture that I've selected as my background. You can also see a preview of my face, ready to have a bit of a chat. So how do we get this from there to here? Well, there's a couple of ways we can go about it. The first thing we need to do is decide whether or not we're happy with where that iPad's sitting. Now, I think it looks all right. You can, of course, actually select this picture and you can adjust some of its settings. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can even rotate it a little bit if you wanted it, say, for instance, to sit a little bit more square. If you decided that you prefer the look of it turned all the way around the other direction. And you can just use those little circles that appear at the edge of the image to move it and pivot it around as much as you like. What you can even do is you can have multiple pictures in the same frame, because this is the frame that we're working with. Or you can just have one picture here and then some text off to the side. There's really no limit as to what you can do once you start experimenting. So I'll move that around and pop that there like that. Oh, it's trying to give me some handy little tool tips. How lovely. So what I'll do is I'll leave that there. So you can see it's at a little bit of an angle, but that's okay. And then we have my video. Now, if we want this video to sit on top of this image, we want to see the different layers that are available in this particular piece of tech. So what I'm going to do is I am going to expand those control tracks so that they take up a little bit more real estate on my screen. Oh, and we have a comment from Creative Nation Academy. Hello, hello, lovely. Thank you for joining me. So I'm guessing if it's Creative Nation Academy, it might be Roland. Hi, Roland. So I can also give myself a little bit more working real estate here by grabbing this little icon that's just sitting at the bottom right of the screen, like the lower third, and it will adjust the preview size. So you can't see as much of your final project, but it does display your layers a little bit more clearly. So first things first, I'm going to grab my video, and just like I did with the picture, I'm going to left click on my face, and I'm going to make my face just a wee bit smaller. Now that'll make it a lot easier for me to do the next step, which is to grab by clicking and holding the mouse, grab that video track and pull it into the layer above the picture. So now you can see with this little line that shows where the video is up to, what it's done is it has put the video above the picture. So now I can make a few small adjustments, pull the image across, pull the video across the image, I should say, rotate it a little bit, get it thereabouts where I want it. The good thing is it automatically is set to keep the aspect ratio. That means like if I pull one side out, the whole image or the whole video changes. It doesn't make my face either really, really thin or really, really squishy. So you can see there's a little bit, it's going to be a little bit out because of the picture that I chose, but it's not going to be too bad. But the problem we now have, and I'll just expand that down a little bit for you guys. The problem we now see is that the video that I took, or the camera that was used on the device that filmed this, made the picture just a bit too wide to fit onto this device screen. So that's not going to work at all, is it? So what we probably then need to do is start exploring our tools to find something that we can use to trim this video down so that it sits within the borders of this picture. So we'll give it a little bit of a black border so that the distortion isn't as obvious. You might have noticed on my example I put up on social media, I did something similar. And we're going to go to the right-hand side of the screen here. Now, I'm using StreamYard for this live stream. That's the software. So you might have noticed there is a duck at the top right-hand corner of the live stream. That's so you know if you are interested in doing live streams, you can use StreamYard, some features of StreamYard for free to see if you like how it works. So just here behind the StreamYard text, we have a few different options. We have the option to add graphics. We have the option to add some transition effects, but that's not what we're wanting. We don't want to change the color. The color palette's fine. We might want to change the speed later, but we don't need that either. We're not going to worry too much about the audio this evening, but that's the option we're after, crop and rotate. So I'm going to left click on that. And you can see it has some basic tools. It has fill, Control Z to undo that on the keyboard. It has fit, Control Z to undo that. Probably not the most flattering still of my face. That's better. You can also use these to adjust the horizontal position backwards and forwards. If you're finding it's a little bit too difficult for you to try to do it with your mouse by clicking and dragging, you can use these tools here. You can make the video a little bit ghostly by changing the opacity of the video footage. We want to keep that maintained proportions on this particular project because we don't, as I said, want to squish my face to be super thin or super wide. But what we do want to do is expand these advanced tools that are sitting just here, which allows us to crop. The best bit about this particular tool is that you can grab this slider and the changes you make aren't permanent. So if you go, oh, way too much, you can take it back to the original setting. So the top and the bottom are fine. It's really just the left and the right that need pulling in. So how easy is that? You just pull it over until you're happy with it. Pull it over until you're happy with it. And just like magic, the video now fits within the iPad screen. The other option that is available here is the appearance edge feather. So let's show you how that works. You grab it and you pull it across. It removes the hard line from the edge of the recording that's sitting over that image and just blends it in just that little bit more gently. So if you pull it out really hard like that, you can see the difference right away, whereas I think a soft touch is always the best touch when it comes to these sort of features. So if we're happy with how that looks, now we can play the video through. Now, I'm going to warn you, what is going to happen as I hit the play button is that the background is going to disappear. So we're going to hit play. See, my background's disappeared. So to make that last for the full duration of the video, I click the picture. Make sure that my face lines up with the beginning of the picture so I can take it right to the beginning of the video. And before it cuts out, I'm going to select that edge. And you see this little tool changes where before it's a cursor, but now it turns into a little tool. That indicates that we can drag and extend the duration of this picture within the finished video. So I think I've pulled it a little bit past the end, but let's check. So obviously I've used a outtake for this one. Such a pretty face. But that is going all the way to the end of the video and just a little bit beyond. So if I went, oh, I don't really want that lovely face being pulled in my video, I'm going to find a spot to trim it. And unfortunately, you can't hear the audio, so you'd usually try to trim it if you can. before you pull a face, but in a natural break of the talking. And I can make sure my video is highlighted, and it is the bit I'm going to cut. And then I hit the scissors here and just trim that, and then get rid of the goofy face. There we go. And then I can take my picture back so that it just runs for the same amount of time as the video. So that's got the majority of it done. But what are we going to do with this black space right here? Well, what we can do is we can fill that empty space with my Create, Share, Learn logo that I made in Adobe Spark Post. So in order to do that, we need to add an extra thing in. I look like Flynn Rider. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new asset into this video. So I'm going to click this little plus button towards the top left-hand corner of the screen to add some more media. So I'll click that and I'll go Your Media. And it's going to give me a range of different things based on the last folder that I was exploring. So if I click there, I can actually look back through other folders that I've recently accessed, and I want the intro video folder, and I want to find my Create, Share, Learn logo, and I'm going to hit Add. Oh, and that's a bit over the top, isn't it? So we don't want it to be that big, do we? So just like we did before, we find a corner, we drag it, we move it to where we want it. But what you'll also notice here is it's actually made this picture appear all the way over at the end of the project. And that's not where we want it at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab that, pull it up, give ourselves a little bit more space by removing that menu like so. There we go. A little bit more real estate so you can see a bit more clearly. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab that picture and pull it so that it's visible within the project. But now we can't see the whole project as easily. So what we can do is we can adjust the timeline so that it shows as much or as little of the project as we like. You can zoom right in there, which is really handy if you're going to create really fine cuts. But otherwise, we want to use this so we can do it that way. Click to where we want it to play. We don't want that empty space the entire time, so we're going to pull that across there. And now that logo, that image, is now sitting there for the full duration of the video. If we like, we can even overlay that still image over this image that's sitting underneath this video. And we can mess around with the content until we're happy with how it looks. Makes it look a little bit more dynamic. If we don't like where that's sitting and we decide we want it to all live on the left-hand side of the screen, we can select the video. We can hold the Shift key down on our keyboard and select the picture, and we can drag them across our screen. Oh, didn't grab the video. There we go. Drag that across to the other side of the screen, and then we can click on our logo and shift that across as well. So there's really no limit to what you can, experiment with in here, other than you have a limited amount of lines that you can add content to. So say, for instance, a fairly clear demonstration is doing that. So you'll see I right-clicked on that asset and I duplicated it. So now it's sitting in there twice. It's sitting over the top of itself. That's why you can't see it. But you have a line here that can have a video or an image. You have a second one, a third one, and a fourth one. So you're really restricted to having 4 layers. However, that does mean that it forces you to be a little bit more creative if you have multiple things, because you can have things transition in and out like so. So you can create blinking effects. You can also play with the effects menu over on the right-hand side and decide how things are going to sometimes wipe or melt or dissolve in. And you can play to your heart's content. You can play forever, figuring out what you like and what you don't like. If you decide you don't like a particular effect, you can either hit the undo button on your keyboard, or you can manually click and remove. If you accidentally remove something, hit Control-Z on your keyboard, and that will restore that change for you. So I think we probably can leave it there. Unless anybody has any questions, I'm having a quick glance at the chat right now just to see if there's any questions, anything I went too fast during, or anything that anyone would like to know or have anything more demonstrated. Otherwise, I reckon we can probably leave this here. So, oh, that's actually something we can do. Remember how I said that it's always good practice if we make sure we include the artist that we use? So I'm going to add a dissolve in there, remove it from the beginning so it's a nice clean start there. And since we have this empty space to work with, wouldn't it be nice if I grabbed the details of the artist that grabbed that picture from Pixabay and I copy that, and I go in and add a text effect. And you can see here there are so many text effects. So let's not go too crazy with it. We'll click that option there. It looks good. And we'll add it in. And now it's had a little bit of a think. Nope, just said it didn't like the font on my computer. That's cool. It put it in anyway. It substituted it out. So now you can see here, it's moved it over to the right-hand side. So we're going to smudge that in to make it fit the length of the rest of our video. And we're going to move our cursor over so we can make sure it's displaying the way we want. Now, do we want it to sit over our face? Maybe not. So just like with everything else, we can pull things around and move them to make them sit where we want them to sit. Now, as you can see there, all I did was double click on that text, and that enables me to go Control-V and add in the information about the lovely creator that made the image that I'm using today. Now, the problem that you're going to see, we'll notice here, and I'll pull that down to make it a bit more obvious for you, is that the text goes all the way across the page and we actually lose some of it. So that's not much good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add some breaks into here and make sure that that particular asset credit is included in our video. So I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know about you guys, but let's play that all the way through and see what we have created. Oh, that's a great place for it to pause. There we go. So that is the long and short of how you can use some of the tools within Adobe Premiere Rush to take an image, put a video over the top of it, make sure you trim that video to size so that it sits within the frame of where you want it to go, and how you can add some other things either imported from another project that you've made, maybe using Adobe Spark Post or some other app, or using the lovely resources that are in the graphics within Adobe Premiere Rush to add text and more visual interest and more movement within your project. So since we're done now, if we were going to post this somewhere, we'd probably want to share it, wouldn't we? So let's click the share button at the top left of the screen. And it's going to ask me where I want it to go, and it's going to ask me what I want to call it. So I will call it Create, Share, Learn Demo from 2021 in February on the 25th. You can call it whatever you like, but it just makes it easier for me to figure out when it's from later on down the track. You can also choose where you export the file to. Usually somewhere that's local on your computer is a good idea, rather than trying to export it if you're in an organization that has shared drives or things sitting up in the cloud. It can sometimes take a bit longer, especially if your internet is interrupted. And we want to make this a teeny tiny little baby video so it doesn't take up too much memory, because right now it's going to export at 14 megabytes and it's all set to really high quality. So let's just peel that back a little bit and make that a bit smaller again, maybe a little bit more smaller again. There we go. So we can preview our project in this window here and confirm that we're happy with it. And then towards the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, we're going to hit the export button. It's going to give us a status bar, and because it's quite a small export, it won't take very long at all. And now we can hit View in Explorer, which will open up a folder to show us where our project is sitting on our device. So you can do that, and it'll open up a Windows Explorer or the Mac equivalent window for you to see where your work is. Otherwise, you just tap Done. And if you want to return to the main screen of Adobe Premiere Rush, you select the home button at the top left-hand corner of the screen. So that's it from me for this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, one of our viewers has commented, wash hands. Yes, wash hands. Sing happy birthday or the rap section from Moana, whatever works for you. Otherwise, take care of yourselves. Have a great day or evening. Come back. I'm planning to do another live stream in another couple of weeks. So if I don't see you in the comment section of this video, like and subscribe. Come back when you can. Watch the recordings if you can't make it live. Take care and have a wonderful weekend. Cheers.